Hello, YouTube. Okay, so Luke Cage has now come out, so yeah, we're gonna talk about it. So what's going on in the show is pretty much Luke Cage, or Carl Lucas, as he was called at the time, is arrested for something. They never actually say what he was arrested for, he was just arrested for something. But he says that he's innocent, as he was framed by someone. Probably Diamondback, as they hint at that at one point, but yeah, they never really say, so it could honestly be anyone. So yeah, Carl Lucas was framed by somebody for a crime that is something. So yeah, he's put in prison for all that incredible vagueness, and while in there, he eventually makes some friends and even meets his future wife. Seeing Jessica Jones, you know how this ends. So yeah, he eventually meets them in there, but when their lives are threatened, he has to perform the most criminal thing ever. Fighting in prison. Wait, what? So yeah, for some odd reason, there is underground boxing going on with the inmates in prison. And it's being filmed for YouTube. Truly, the most marketable thing ever. Like, seriously, how much is that making? Or do they just do it for the cops and they have cameras set up just to say, yeah, we're getting money off of this? Like, really, I want to know why? Why is inmate fighting such a big thing that they've been running it for quite some time now? I really want to know. But yeah, apparently inmates fighting in prison is a very big demographic for someone, I'm sure. So yeah, he gets involved in that, but eventually decides to quit. And this ends up with him getting very, very injured and being brought in for gang treatment. But while that happens, the guy who organized all the underground inmate fighting, he comes in and performs experiments on him, which eventually ends up with Luke Cage getting bulletproof skin and super strength, as most messing with machinery experiments do. So he ends up with that and breaks out of prison, and he leaves with his girlfriend in prison. So they pretty much decide what to do, and he decides to call himself Luke Cage as an alias. Oh, and also, when he broke out, he actually puts on the costume from the comics, and that moment was awesome. I seriously love that moment. It was so awesome. His reaction to the costume was hilarious. I just loved it. Sadly, it only lasted for 20 seconds. Okay. Kinda odd, but yeah, then all the events of Jessica Jones happen, and if you haven't seen Jessica Jones, you probably need to before watching the show, or just find a recap online. I'm sure there are some. So, yeah, pretty much everything that happened Jessica Jones happens, and now Luke wants to get away from all this, so he goes to Harlem and starts trying to form a normal life. And he's actually doing pretty good at it. Not really paying his rent on his apartment, but he's still doing pretty good. So, yeah, everything's fine, that is, until crime starts going up with Cottonmouth, who is pretty much a mob boss who runs a club in Harlem. That's pretty much his biggest accomplishment. He runs a club. So, yeah, turns out that this guy had his weapon stolen from him by someone that Pops, the guy who Luke Cage works for at one of his jobs and is also a pretty good friend with. He pretty much knows this kid who's involved in this, and he wants to protect him. So he asks Luke for help, and eventually he gets involved in it, and this ends with Pops getting killed. Yeah, I told you that there were gonna be spoilers. Pops gets killed in episode 2, and it is really sad. Like, seriously, I thought that he was gonna be, like, the mentor person for Luke. Like, that priest guy is for Matt, or alcohol is for Jessica Jones. I don't know. Like, I thought it would be something like that, but it Pops kind of is, actually, even after he's been killed, but still very sad that he got killed off in episode 2. But, as Pop said, always forward. So, the show continues, and eventually Luke decides that he's going to bring down Cottonmouth, but someone actually beats him to the punch. Cottonmouth's cousin, Maria, who's pretty much been running for being mayor of Harlem, and eventually she pretty much wants to see it on council there, and that got her involved in everything that goes on with Cottonmouth, which eventually she comes to talk to him about. He talks about something that's very private and very personal, which gets her very annoyed, and she throws him out a window after beating him with a wine glass, and then beats his head in with a microphone stand. Yeah, so that happened, and Cottonmouth is killed, and eventually a guy named Shades, who has pretty much been sent by Diamondback, who we'll talk about later, he pretty much comes in and cleans up everything and makes it look like Luke Cage did it, as he's been getting in the way. So this would be a good way to get the cops against him. So eventually, all the cops start thinking, okay, Luke Cage did this, and even Misty Knight, a cop who's been after him and is indifferent about whether or not he's a criminal or not, because she had sex with him once. Yeah, nothing's clouding her judgment. So, yeah, she pretty much doesn't really know for sure, but she's still after Luke. So eventually Luke decides, well, this is going to be too much, so he just leaves, because the cops aren't listening to him, but then he gets shot by Diamondback. Yes, his bulletproof skin gets shot. Yeah, this is the second time a gunshot has hurt him. So, yeah, bulletproof skin. You might want a refund on that. So, yeah, he's been shot, so he decides to go see the only person who can help him, which is the doctor who was involved in trying to help him when he was being up in prison. So we go to see that guy. Luckily, he has all of his equipment still there in his house. I don't know why. Like, why does he have all his equipment in his house? Like, was he just preparing for this? But, yeah, he accepts, and eventually Luke Cage is healed up while he finds out the truth about Rena, I forgot her name. Luke Cage's wife. He finds out the truth about her, that she was actually involved in the experimentation, everything like that, and this gets him very annoyed, so he destroys pretty much everything that's in this room, and leaves the doctor to do stuff. Just ordinary stuff. So him and Claire, oh yeah, Claire has now started working with them because she's been on all 3 shows. Good for her. Oh yeah, and they also start having a relationship. Kinda, sorta, maybe. So, yeah. She pretty much tells him to go back to Harlem to clear his name. And he decides, well, okay. So he goes back while but on the way back, he finds out the truth. Diamondback is his brother. Dun dun dun. Wait, what? Okay, so, yeah, I honestly did not put that in hastily. That's pretty much how the show explains it, too. It's just, Diamondback is his brother, da-da-da-da. Wait, I don't know Diamondback. There has been no build up to this whatsoever. Well, Diamondback's his brother. It's shocking. So, yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but God, that reveal was bad. So, yeah, Diamondback is pretty much taking control of all the mobs now in Harlem and is preparing for Luke Cage's return, which he does. He returns, and Misty Knight is actually now found out about the truth upon his return because, well, Luke got involved in some things at club with people hating him, and now he pretty much gets Misty Knight to believe him. They have some evidence stacked up on Maria, who is now maybe has a seat on the council. Like, they say that she lost it at one point, but kind of assume with her gang involvement now that she might have gotten it back. But yeah, either she's the head of a mob or she's a person on the council of Harlem. So yeah, she's one of the two, and now pretty much she and Shades are working together after Shades is double crossed by Diamondback. So yeah, now they are working to take down Diamondback behind his back because Maria kind of is faking him, bullying him, saying, yeah, I'm working with you, I'm loyal to you. So yeah, they eventually get a file on proving that Carl Lucas is indeed innocent, and they decide to make an offer with Luke to take down Diamondback, which was something that he was going to do anyway, and in exchange for that, they will give him this file. And eventually he does take down Diamondback after Diamondback has some enhancements through technology that make him stronger, and eventually Luke just beats it, yeah. So, yeah, in like a 10-minute fight scene, which is pretty boring. Seriously, the scale on that one was really boring. But, yeah, he eventually beats him, and Maria is taken into custody for there's a lot of evidence now stacked up against her, and, yeah, she's just let out. Okay. And Luke gets his name cleared in Harlem, but not so much in the state of Georgia where he was arrested. So, yeah, people from Seagate, the prison that he was in, come back to take him back to jail. And Misty says, what was her name? Claire, yeah, Claire. She comes back and she pretty much says, okay, it's alright, I know a lawyer. Yep, she does. Foggy. Okay, yeah, no, she's talking about Matt. So, yeah, I guess that's how they're gonna meet up. Yay. So, yeah, the show pretty much ends with the villains winning. Well, that was interesting. So, yeah, what do I think about this show overall? It's pretty good. Like, I think I like it more than Jessica Jones, but the one thing that it doesn't beat Jessica Jones in, or any of the other Netflix shows, well, maybe season 2 of Daredevil, but the one thing it doesn't beat them in is the villain. The villains on this show, I really could not care less about. Diamondback was very weak. His explanation of being Luke's brother is never built up to. When it's said, I honestly thought that he meant that in a religious way, because they're both religious, so, I mean, like, Luke brings up passages from the Bible, so I'm guessing that he's religious. And, yeah, Diamondback is all about religion. That's made very evident on this show, so I was just thinking that he meant that in a religious way, but then it turns out that, yeah, he actually meant that legitimately. Okay. Where did that come from? I like the build-up to Diamondback, but his all-in-all reveal was really not that strong to me. I've heard people say that he was creepy, and I guess I can see that because he's very unpredictable and unstable, but Yeah, overall, I really did not find him to be an interesting villain. There's nothing really about him that I really liked outside that one little backstory scene in the last episode, and that's not really that strong. I honestly thought that scene, if they expanded on it a bit more, it could have made him a more interesting villain, or maybe shown bits of their past like that throughout the season. I think that something like that could have made it much more of a payoff when you find out Diamondback was his brother, and now they're enemies. I would have liked that much more, but yeah, Diamondback doesn't really stay that strong. He's a very weak villain compared to the others, like Kilgrave or Kingpin. Compared to them, he's really weak. So, yeah, I didn't like Diamondback, but he's not the only villain who I didn't like. I also did not like Maria, who, honestly, I could not care less about. She's involved in politics and stuff, which is something that I always try to stay away from. Like, politics and me don't get along. And that's pretty much her biggest focus on the show, so I really didn't get into it. So, yeah, Maria, she just wasn't that interesting to me. I just honestly didn't really care about her. The only moment that I kind of cared about her was a bit in Cottonmouth's backstory. And even at that, I didn't really care. So, yeah, I really didn't like Maria. She was a very weak villain. I do like the twist, though, that she actually ends up winning. The villains actually win in this show, and I thought that was a very good twist, because that never happens outside of the deleted scene in, what was it, Little Shop of Horrors. So, yeah, outside of that, the villains don't really win. But here, I like seeing the twist that they actually did. And I also think that that kind of changes it up for the Netflix shows to come, because the villains can win now. We've seen that. We've seen that the villain can actually win. So I'm very curious to seeing if Netflix is going to do this more often. Like with their shows and everything. Because that was a very interesting twist, and I really liked it. So yeah, I'm pretty curious as to where that's going to be heading for the Netflix shows, if they're going to go in a new direction with that. But if they don't, I'm fine with it just being done here. It was really good. So, yeah, Luke, I honestly thought was a really good character, actually. He's complex, he's interesting, and I liked following him. He's a very good character. He was by far my favorite character on the show. I really like his attitude, and he's much more funny than the other two Netflix character heroes have been so far, so I like that. I like seeing that he's much more lighthearted, and I like how the show sort of found a good balance between something like, I don't know, the CW shows or maybe Gotham. Like, it found a good balance between those, which are more lighthearted, and the Netflix shows on Marvel. I found a good balance between those two. It's lighthearted, and it's also dark. I like that. Each and every single one of these Netflix shows has had their own personality to them. Like, Daredevil is the much more dark and gritty one. Jessica Jones is depressing and dark, but it also has a beacon of light in it. And Luke Cage is pretty much showing more positivity with it. So yeah, I like how all these Netflix shows have their own personality to it. Every single one of them just has their own personality, and Luke Cage is no exception, and I like the different route that they take with every one of their shows on Netflix, and this one I think I really did like as well. So yeah, I like the direction that they took with it. Then we got Claire, who I honestly thought was alright, but man, does she get around. Like, first Matt Murdock, now Luke. Like, what? Like, my biggest problem with that, though, like, I like seeing them together and everything, because they work well off each other. I like the actors, but the biggest problem I had was there was no real build up to it. It's just all of a sudden she's into Luke Cage and he's into her. Like, they were already kind of friends, but I don't really know where the love appeal came from. That just kind of came out of nowhere. But outside of that, I did like them together. They were nice. I like seeing them hang out. And Claire is honestly really awesome in this show. I like how she's developed. Like, now she pretty much wants to help out people with superpowers, and I think that that's a really cool turn. I think that they show that more and more, then that would be really awesome to see that happen with Claire. I honestly would not mind seeing that. It's very cool. So yeah, I like Claire in this one. Then we have Misty Knight, who I honestly really liked. She's a cop who just wants to get down to the truth, and she's actually one of the few non-corrupt cops in her department, and I like that. I like how she's a full-bred cop. Like, that's what she's always been. Like, even, I also like how when she looks at a picture, she can just see that happening. I really like that. So yeah, I really did like Misty Knight on this. She was very cool. Also, I like the little reference with the arm. Like, oh no, you're almost gonna lose your arm. Comic book fans will get it. So yeah, I like Misty Knight here. She was very likable. Hello, just a question. Was that guy that she was talking to, I forgot his name, like Brian or something? Like, was that guy her new partner? Like, her original partner dies, so is that her new partner? I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I like her new partner, if that is who he is. He was cool. He was likable. I could see more being done with him. So yeah, I like Misty Knight on the show. She was very awesome. Her maybe partner was likable. At least more likable than our first partner, who I really didn't like. Thank God he died. So yeah, I did not like her first partner, but maybe she has another one now. They never really say, but if that is her new partner, he was okay. So yeah. What's the other one to talk about? Pops. Why? Why, Netflix? Why? Why do you do this to me? Okay, so yeah, Pops. I really liked his character, and his death is tragic. Seriously, his death is so freaking sad. Just, wow, I really felt bad about Pops dying here. It was very sad. It happens in episode 2, but you get to know him in between those 2 episodes, and you get to like him. He's a very likable character, and I honestly just felt really bad when he died. So, yeah. I miss you, Pops. Always forward. Oh, also, he has a swear jar. So do I in my videos if you watch it. Okay, yeah. So, yeah. That was cool, I guess. But yeah, I really do like Pops in the show. He was a very nice character. I like how he was trying to redeem himself and everything. He was a very likable character, so yeah, I really liked Pops. And the last main character to talk about, oh wait, no, actually we know there's one more. Shades. He was pretty cool, although he was pretty over the top. Like, not as over the top as Diamondback, God no, but he was pretty over the top, which kind of got to me at times, but yeah, overall I think that he was fine. Like, Shades, he was better than Maria, I'll give him that. He was my second favorite villain on the show, but my first favorite villain on the show, transition, was Cottonmouth, and yeah, I honestly just think that Cottonmouth was a really cool villain.
My name is not Cottonmouth!
Yeah. Cornell it is. So yeah, Cornell, I honestly thought was a very cool villain, and I like his backstory. Even though we've seen that type of backstory before, they do it very differently on the show. I like the execution in it. It was done very well, and I honestly really liked seeing Cornell, even though it took a while for me to warm up to him. After I did, I honestly did really like him, and him dying about halfway through really disappointed me. Although, here's the thing. I read the episode descriptions before I watch a show for some reason, because I guess I just like being spoiled on things. So, yeah, I read the episode description for Luke Cage, and here's the thing. I kind of already knew he was gonna die, because there was that one point where they talk about him a lot, and then they just stop talking about him altogether. Yeah, so I wonder what happened there. So yeah, I just used deductive reasoning, and yeah, I kind of guessed that he was gonna die, and what do you know, he did. So yeah, that, I honestly think that one could have been done. I think that way was fine. I like how he died. I like the way that was a very big shock because in every trailer that I saw for Luke Cage, it made it feel like Cottonmouth was gonna be the main villain, but it turns out that he wasn't. And I really like that twist, even though it was just Maria who turned out to be his replacement. But yeah, I did like Cottonmouth in this. I also like how he was more of a nice person. Like, you can see him also being a nice person. Like, when something happened to Pops, like when he hears that Pop's store has been shot on by one of his men, he's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, all right. Here's the thing, we'll pay him back. We'll pay him anonymously and we'll help him rebuild. I really like how he was just like that after hearing it. Like, you can tell that he has a sympathetic side to him too. So that's something that I found was really interesting with him. So yeah, I like Cottonmouth, and I'm sorry, Cornell. Sorry, please don't yell at me again. So yeah, I liked Cornell, and he was honestly pretty awesome. So yeah, I really liked him. I kind of wish that we had a little bit more time with him, but I think that with the time that we had, he was fine. So yeah, I really honestly liked the main characters on the show, like the heroes. The villains, I'm more split on because they can either be pretty weak and underdeveloped or actually be pretty strong and actually be kind of interesting, even mysterious, like Shades. Like, I have no idea what his backstory is. So, yeah, I'm curious to see more of some of these villains, but others, yeah, I'm kind of glad that they were taken out, like Diamondback. So, yeah. It depends for me on the villains, but the heroes and protagonists I really did like. So, yeah, that's it for the characters, and I like the story that the show has. Like, all in all, I think it was pretty good. I think that really started getting my interest when Cornell, yell at me. But yeah, when Cornell died, I think that's when it really got my interest, because that was just such a big shock. So, yeah, even though I already knew it was coming. But it was still a shock. So yeah, I honestly did really like how that was done. That was very good. So yeah, all in all, I think that this show is pretty good. But I don't like it as much as Daredevil. I think that one's definitely my favorite out of the Netflix shows, but I like it more than Jessica Jones. Because on Jessica Jones, really the villain was the main thing holding my interest. But well, it did have its own share of good things about it. I liked the villain the most, but here I think that's just the area that it doesn't shine in. But in everything else, it outwavers Jessica Jones. Not to say that Jessica Jones is bad. I liked it, but I like Luke Cage more. But the final thing I want to talk about is the intro, which I always talk about. The intro on this one I thought was pretty good, although much like Cornell, it took me a while to warm up to. Like, at first I was just like, this is an alright intro, I guess. Heard better, though. So, yeah, I was watching it kind of invested, so yeah, I wasn't fully invested in that intro at first, but then I really started to like it by the end. And so yeah, it was much like Cornell to me. It took me a while to warm up to, but once I did, I really liked it. So yeah, for the intro, I thought it was cool, but I honestly prefer Jessica Jones to be my #1 favorite intro from the Netflix show. Seriously, that intro is just so awesome. Daredevil is my second favorite, and then Luke Cage. So yeah, I really do like how this one set everything up. It has some nice callbacks to the comics, even, which is cool. They even tried to get him to be a hero for hire at one point. That was awesome. So yeah, I think that it really did work. It was a very good show. I like it. But yeah, the villains could have used a bit of work. But all in all, I did like it. Outside that final fight, which was pretty boring. But yeah, I did like it. There were some good twists in there. So yeah, I did like this. I did like the show, and I'm very curious as to seeing a season 2 with it. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a season 2. It had some good build up to the Defenders, And the next Netflix show is going to be Iron Fist. So that one I'm pretty excited for too. So yeah, I guess the next time I talk about a Netflix show will be then. So yeah, this one, to finish this one off, it was pretty good. I like it. The villains, not great, but I did like some of them. So yeah, it just sort of depends with me. Like, there were some parts that I liked, some parts I didn't. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that it could have been executed a bit better, but for what it did, it does it perfectly fine. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye.